Tournament of Everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything Scouting Report, where we take a look at one competitor out of everything that is present on Wikipedia, all 7 million of them, and tell you about just one of them today.
They say the pen is mightier than the sword, but that's only one competition that we could potentially see in this in Tournament of Everything. What we're interested in is what is mightier than every single thing else. And in our full-length episodes, we suss them out 2 by 2, but in these scouting reports, we just take a look at one prior to the battle, and we see how we think it may fare when it inevitably shows up to compete in round 1. So, Rob, why don't you tell us which randomly generated competitor we will be getting a pre-look at in this episode?
Well, our randomly generated competitor today will definitely bring the heat to the competition, and they will be dropping bombs as well, because we are talking about none other than VMTB-341, the Marine Scout Bomber Squadron, the dive bomber squadron in the United States Marine Corps.
Oh, wow. Now, before even reading a word of this, I'm seeing an emblem, a patch, if you will, and it looks like a turtle with a cloud made of shells holding a missile and wearing a yellow ball cap. Looks pretty cool, type of patch that maybe would be cool to wear if it wasn't false. What do they call it? False valor. Probably not a cool thing to do, but a cool thing to do would be to learn about it. So let's do so now. Also known as the Torrid Turtles, they fought in World War II with the Marine Aircraft Group 24, most notably in the Philippines campaign, though they were deactivated shortly after the end of the war on September 13th, 1945.
Marine Scout Bomber Squadron 341 was commissioned on February 1st, 1943 at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, North Carolina. The squadron moved to Marine Corps Auxiliary Airfield Atlantic, North Carolina on May 31st, but referred to MCAS Cherry Point on August 1st. The squadron departed for the South Pacific, and its flight echelon arrived at Pago Pago on October 6, 1943. Beginning in December of that same year, the squadron was part of Strike Command and operated out of airfields on Efate, Mundy, and Bougainville. During this time, they flew strikes against bypassed Japanese bases in the Solomon Islands, including Rabaul, and on June 24th of 1944, the squadron moved to Amrau Island, and they moved again to Green Island in July of that same year.
Most turtles are pretty slow, but these were pretty quick, and they began their deployment in the same manner. On December 9th, 1944, Marine Aircraft Group 24 was ordered to begin its deployment to the Philippines from the Solomon Islands. For the flight echelon, their move meant a long, over-water endurance flight. For the ground echelon, it meant a miserably long sea voyage. VMTB-341 undertook such a move. The ground element left its Solomon's base on December 17th, and its official history records the tortoise month on board, or was it tortuous?
Yeah, tortuous.
It sounds terrible. Looks like tortoise, but I don't know. Is it bad to be a tortoise? You think that's a tough life?
Being a tortoise?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a long life.
It's a long life. You get to eat a lot of lettuce. I don't know.
Ooh, lettuce is good. And so is this quote that follows. This was a cargo vessel with no troop accommodations. Shortly after boarding, Tokyo Rose informed the squadron that it would never make it to the Philippines. After several days, squadron personnel had their doubts too. Field ranges were set up on deck to feed the troops. Shower facilities consisted of a length of pipe with numerous holes drilled in it, secured to the rigging and connected to a fire hose pumping seawater. Head facilities were equally primitive.
Now, that sounds like something I wouldn't want to do, although technically a shower head is really just a pipe with a bunch of holes drilled in it, but I gotta imagine what I have is probably a little nicer than what they had. Now, when the ground element arrived at Hollandia, New Guinea, it alternated between that anchorage and the one at Lae, New Guinea, until finally departing for the Philippines. Now, we eventually did win this war. We know this because of history. This was all the way back in 1944 and 45. 1 month after Japanese surrender, the squadron was deactivated, so they are no more. Now, notable former members of the Torrid Turtles, Jerry Coleman, then second baseman for the New York Yankees.
Absolutely. He flew with that VMTB-341 during the war, and we're glad to know that this squadron of bombers is flying with us. So I think they're going to do very well when they fly into round 1 to compete and drop bombs on whoever they end up competing against. But if you want to find out exactly how that goes, you'll have to tune in to some unknown inevitable episode in the future when it reappears to compete against some other randomly generated entity of the infinite here in the ultimate tournament of everything.
That's right. Every day of the week, we have an episode. Sometimes they're like this, and sometimes they're not. Those other days when they're not, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we compare 18 competitors 2 by 2 in 9 rounds of some of the most random stuff you've probably heard today. So if you like the unknown, you'll like the show. And if you don't like the unknown, well, guess what? Live a little, because we'll be here for you with a nice, safe Wikipedia article every morning.
Or it could be dangerous, like this bomber squadron. You'll just have to tune in to find out. So please join us. Don't forget, in the meantime, to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. And we will be visibly, audibly available to you tomorrow on
The ultimate tournament of everything.